The world is advancing very quickly. There's new technological innovations happening basically every single day. But this doesn't just include the AI sectors or the technology sectors, this also includes sports. And in today's video, we're going to dive into an e commerce trend that you can capitalize on that is absolutely blowing up. And we're going to actually dissect a store in this category to showcase an e commerce model that you can utilize for Shopify that's very, very smart. And this brand does about $400 million per year. So it will be a great example in what are the things that they're doing right, what are the things that they're doing wrong, which you could capitalize on. And again, I'll present this to you in a very dissected way with a ton of data so that you can capitalize on it, or at the very least learn and get inspired, get the creative juices flowing in your brain. Now, the brand is called Head. You've probably heard of them before. It's actually a very popular brand in the tennis niche. However, as you see on my screen, we are focused right now on the paddle niche. Now, this is an absolutely crazy trend in the last few years. Paddle is blowing up insanely. So as you see, the volume, the demand for paddle rackets is going through the roof. It's actually growing at an exponential rate, which is pretty interesting. Now, one thing about paddle is that it's actually different than pickleball. So as pickleball is rising, so is paddle, but they're two different things. So the model of e-commerce that I want to present to you today is basically the general niche store model. Now, first and foremost, I'll share with you a ton of amazing AI tools here that I'm using as well so that you can create basically a one-person business around this. And this tool primarily that I'm using is called ShoppyLab.ai. This is actually my software, and we do have an accelerator community attached to it where there is members that in the last 30 days alone have reached their first 1K day, 30K days, and even 100K days, which sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Data is extremely important when it comes to building a successful e-commerce business, and that's my mission, is to help more Shopify store owners succeed because 95% of them fail. So if you are interested in that, I'll leave the link to that in the description. But let's dive right in. Now, one thing that I want to highlight right away is the fact that there are competitors in this niche besides Head, but Head is, again, the most prestigious brand in this category because they've absolutely crushed the tennis market for a very long time. But this is what's cool about owning a store in a niche where you're not really necessarily constricted by, your product category. These guys are able to capitalize on these trends very easily because of course they have brand reputation and a great brand image, but also because it's congruent with their brand actually. So they have this whole paddle section on their store. It's super, super clean. But what's really interesting too is what you'll see here. Let me actually dive into some of these rackets, is that they're not cheap by any means. So interestingly enough, they don't have the prices on here. That's kind of interesting. I didn't really realize. They don't really have the best e-commerce experience, I will say. They don't use Shopify even, which is a little bit shocking to me. And even though they are a really great brand, they have some of the best products in the category. They're not really doing it right. I mean, even their advertising, right? If we take a look at some of their meta ads, which is one of the best ways to advertise your business on Shopify is through meta. They have the strongest machine learning algorithms. It's very simple to set up, and there's a lot of ads that you can test on here. These are all the ads they're running. I mean, extremely underwhelming. These are really not good. They're decent. These are fine, right? It's just a white image of the product, self-explanatory. But on Instagram, they're posting so much cool content with paddles. So it's a little shocking to me that they're not utilizing Meta, some of this content on Meta. That's the meta of Meta, right? This is what you can do, is post a lot of organic content on your Instagram page like this. This is free to post. And then use the best performing content, such as this video, right? This is a super cool video, and run it as an ad, right? So this video got 700 likes organically in about a month, but that's probably plateaued, right? So what they can do is, now that it's plateaued, they can utilize this as a paid ad with the conversion optimization on Meta. And please don't get overwhelmed by all these terms if you don't know what I'm talking about. that's just basically with meta ads, you can set up your ads to be conversion optimized so that Meta's machine learning algorithms go out there and try to find you customers for your business. It's actually simpler than you think. Of course, there's a lot of complexity in the back end. But let me show you another brand here that I think is better to model, actually. I think Head is really good because they have this crazy brand image. And of course, you should model the best, right? These guys are doing $400 million a year, but that's across retail, across a variety of sales channels, and across a variety of product categories. But here's a brand just about paddle. Now, again, the model that I'm presenting to you today is not to just make a paddle brand, but for example, make a head-like brand. So for example, a brand that sells court racket sports, right? So I wouldn't just do paddle because of course you have also pickleball. That's an incredibly booming trend. So you shouldn't limit yourselves to just paddle. But these guys are doing that. And some of their paddles are so crazy expensive. Like this one, for example, it's a Babolat Technical Viper Juan Lebron 2.0 for 2025. So they have agreements with some of these big brands like Babolat, right? They're a very popular tennis brand in order to carry their products on their store. This is actually an undervalued strategy. And believe it or not, you can do this. You can reach out to these brands and wholesale their products on your store. Some of them even allow you to ship directly from their warehouses, so you don't even need to stock their products. And this gives you a lot of authority. But these guys, again, this is a very high margin niche or high value niche, high average order value niche, which is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best things that you can have when it comes to meta ads is a high average order value and a high margin. Now, I did find a supplier for this. So there's an Etal Green is apparently one of the best paddle manufacturers out there. So you could reach out to them. But of course, you got Alibaba, and Alibaba has great AI right now to show you the best suppliers for a variety of things. So as you see here, some of these are $35, but as I just showed you, they're going for anywhere up to $400 a paddle, which is pretty ridiculous, actually. That's a super high margin. So this is an amazing niche. Now, if you haven't started your Shopify store, I want to briefly touch on this. Shopify right now is literally $1 a month for the first 3 months if you use the link in my description. I've been a Shopify partner for a very long time. I've gone to their events. I've been invited to them. And I'm actually pretty shocked that they have this offer because you can literally just start a new store every single time and give yourself 3 months to make it, right? 3 months of hard work on your store to get customers and get an ROI. And it's only going to cost you $1 per month. So this is the model. To summarize the model here with this offer, again, it's only going to cost you $1 a month. What I would do is literally start a store around racket sports, specifically start with the paddle racket niche because the demand is absolutely booming based on the data. And then give myself 3 months to just make as much content as possible on TikTok and repost it to Instagram, and then take whatever works on Instagram and run it as an ad. Now, me personally, I probably would just start with ads because I like to be a little bit faster. We have an agency where we run ads for clients, so that's why I'm a little bit biased towards ads. But we've also seen a variety of members in our accelerator, for example, that get thousands, hundreds of thousands of views organically, which do lead to sales. So, you could buy any of these and start making content around it. You could put your logo on there. For example, these guys, you could put your logo on. These guys, you could put your logo on. You could also drop ship again. Some other brands if you wanted to start that way. So if we look up paddle rackets, let's say on AliExpress, you can use something like Zendrop or a private sourcing agent. We do have private sourcing agents in our community, but you could also just use something like Zendrop, AutoDS. There's a lot of softwares that integrate into Shopify that allow you to dropship products pretty seamlessly. And again, just give yourself 3 months to make it with this deal. So I'll leave this deal in the description as well. Now, the Head Shopify store, actually, sorry, it's not a Shopify store. It should be a Shopify store, but it's not. They get a ton of traffic, and it's actually from a variety of countries. So these are some of the biggest countries that go to the head.com store. So again, this is something you can note down for your own brand. You can target these countries with your meta ads, or even create a Shopify store local to these countries. For example, in Germany, there's 6% of their traffic is from Germany. So that's for sure a market that you could look into cornering. There's not going to be nearly as much competition over there. But yeah, 25% of their traffic is from the US, and then the rest is from UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain. That's the most popular ones, but they get a ton of traffic from all over the world, which I love to see. I love global brands personally because it simply gives you a bigger total addressable market. If you can target worldwide, you literally 10x your total addressable market, which is pretty interesting. And it's such a simple thing that a lot of people seem to not think about. Now, I did take a look at their comments. So this is another AI tool that we use. It's called Smart Reply. And basically what it allows you to do, this is a free comment analysis tool. So you can use this for free on smartreply.io. And I put the head paddle page on here to see some of their comments. And first and foremost, what I see is that they're replying to only 0.6% of all their comments. This is so ridiculous to me, because each customer interaction on social media is so valuable, right? If somebody comments on one of your pages, it's super valuable to engage with them and create a conversation with them, maybe encourage them to DM you, have a conversation in the DMs. And each one of those comments is a potential sale, right? It's a customer interaction that you can maximize the value of. And it's really good for community building. So that's what Smart Reply allows you to do, actually, is you can train an AI to do this for you, to answer all of your comments, encourage conversations, and even DM people and hold conversations in the DMs. It can even process returns because it actually just goes right into your Shopify store. It's a Shopify app. And Head is not doing any of that. They're not. Some of the biggest brands don't do it. It's pretty wild. I even saw Fashion Nova, for example. They only reply to 1% of comments. So crazy. But what I like about this free comment tool is that it gives us a lot of ideas on what we can improve upon for our brand. So, for example, people here are saying great rackets generally, but please consider changing the strap installment. Players should be able to change straps without ruining the racket. So it seems people are very interested in, of course, changing the strap, which is pretty normal, right? I mean, that sounds like an easy thing, but it seems like they don't make it very easy. So that's one thing you can take into consideration for your own brand, right? Another person said, please, could you advise South African agents for head paddle? I would like to purchase the Gravity Pro and would like to try one out, but unfortunately the other popular brands are available for me to look at and have a feel. So apparently South Africa is perhaps an underserved market for this kind of thing. So you can learn a lot by looking at the comments of brands. It's a very undervalued way to get alpha into starting a new brand, or for whatever it is, even for investing, right? I like to think of myself a little bit of as an investor, entrepreneur, and investor, and that's why I love looking at all this data. I love looking at all this stuff. It's super interesting to me, and I love breaking it down for you so that you can take advantage of it, and ideally so that you can eventually build a business that I can invest into. That's like the ultimate goal of why I make these videos, besides just providing value for free, and also besides just like as a research exercise for myself. But ultimately, there's a lot that we went over here. These guys also are posting on YouTube. One interesting thing too is that they have a different social media for every single one of their sports, which is pretty cool. That's something you can model. But yeah, again, I really do believe that this is one of the strongest e-commerce models that you can follow, which is to build a general niche store, right? So a store that covers a sort of broader niche, not just one particular niche. Yes, people say the riches are in the niches, and I do mention niches a lot. Niche, doesn't really matter. They're interchangeable. But I do believe that it's very smart to be flexible, right? Be kind of like water, be able to surf these trends. And the best way to do that is to have, for example, a store around sports, or again, you can make it a little more niche, like around racket sports, like Head, that's what Head does. They only do racket sports. Actually, they do skis too, weirdly enough. And they do pickleball too. So they have pickleball paddles and apparel, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's a very, very strong model because it allows you to test a lot of products. It allows you to always be coming out with new products, which increases your lifetime customer value. And this is the most important metric actually for a successful e-commerce store, believe it or not. A lot of you guys may only know drop shipping where you only kind of acquire one customer and that's what you're optimizing for. But the brands that have the most enterprise value and that actually make the most money and profits are the ones that have a really high lifetime customer value. And one of the easiest ways to build a higher lifetime customer value is just to do more product drops so that when you acquire a customer, ideally you acquire a customer profitably through meta ads by capitalizing on a really hot trend and stuff like that, on really hot demand. But then now that you acquired the customer, you own that customer. That's the beautiful thing about Shopify that you don't get on TikTok Shop, you don't get on Amazon, is that you own your customer list. So then you can send new product drops to those customers, and that's pretty much pure profit besides the product cost if they buy those products. So that's one of the easiest ways to increase your lifetime customer value. And really that's kind of the metric that you need to optimize for, is lifetime value divided by cost per acquisition. That's basically what makes your business strong. Very simple math. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was valuable. I don't want to yap too much longer here, but I found this to be a very interesting niche that is just absolutely blowing up. So you can take advantage of this through e-commerce, as I just mentioned. You can also take advantage of this through media, creating clipping pages on TikTok. That's a pretty fun way to make money online these days, in my opinion, as well. So I do want to talk about that more in the future because it's actually a very powerful model and it blends very well with e-commerce actually, because you can become an affiliate for brands. But that's about it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.